This week on Great Chat, we have the whole gang together. And on the brink of a holiday weekend, we're asking the question that's on everyone's mind. Will tech see any kind of summer slowdown, or are we all moving at AI speed? And what does that mean for founders and fundraisers or people looking for jobs? But first, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Mercury. Mercury is the fintech used by over 200,000 companies to simplify their finances. We are huge Mercury fans at Great Chat, and we use it to run this podcast. And a few of us are also current customers for our funds and startups. Not to mention the dozens of startups we've backed as VCs, angels, and scouts that run their businesses on Mercury. Something I love about Mercury is how straightforward the onboarding flow is. Using it is a delight, and I'm excited to see them reach more startups and small business owners who listen to this podcast. So if you are launching a startup or fund, visit mercury.com to apply online in 10 minutes or less. Quick note, Mercury is a financial technology company, not a bank. For more details, check our show notes. And one last reminder, if you have questions for us, we answer them each week. Don't forget to submit all your burning questions at anothergreatchat.com.
I would really like a beverage company sponsor so we can sip Gia
for 9 o'clock in the morning. Or we could do like one of those little cold brews. Those little
Oh yeah.
What's the frozen things that everyone's obsessed with? The pods. Cometier. I don't drink them, but I could.
They're so good. I am such a convert. I'm not even a coffee slob. It's like a snob. It's like it's so convenient and it's like
you're
so
not
clean.
a coffee snob. You're a coffee slob. I think
that's
you
exactly
said it correctly.
Right. That is correct. That is correct.
Stop, I'm dead.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm obsessed. It's great.
Well, if we're all properly caffeinated, should we talk about the Bezos wedding? Best transition ever.
So subtle, so chill. Love to see it.
Yeah. Who spent the weekend in Venice vicariously?
Oh, I actually went. So.
Oh, you were there. Who did you sit next to?
I sat in between Orlando Bloom and Tom Brady because I just really live for that divorced dad energy.
Amazing.
I'm a weirdo, but I think I'd be like most excited to meet not any of the celebrities or the tech bros, but like I want to meet like Lauren Sanchez's like sister or childhood friend and just get her take on the whole thing. Who are their
friends? I want to know who are you actually?
I want to meet their plastic surgeons. Like who is doing your work?
I think it's believable that she's had celebrity friends for a while. Yeah, she was a anchor, right? Somewhere.
She was an anchor on Fox. Her brother, if you guys don't remember, was the one who leaked the entire story to the National Enquirer.
Was he there?
Nobody, I don't know. I actually did try to
that's a good question.
He was there. But this is the amazing thing about, I guess, Power and Money is the fact that like they've totally buried that story and like no one's really resurfaced it. And then I did also go down another rabbit hole this weekend about how Lauren Sanchez got the cover of Vogue, the like last cover that Anna Wintour was going to be in charge of at Vogue, even though she's still staying at Condé Nast. So I don't know. There's a lot of little speculations on various corners going on right now.
I will never forget those leaked texts. And my favorite part was Jeff calling Lauren a live girl, which is maybe the best pet name ever. And in fact, my dog.
What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. Did you just say pet name?
Pet name, but also to transition to my husband and I call our dog a live girl sometimes, especially after like a couple of weekends ago, she ate an entire bar of dark chocolate, and so whenever Tawny survives, eating something designed to kill her, like we call her a live girl, and so I feel like this deep soul connection with Lauren Sanchez.
So what was his intention when he called?
I think she's just really alive, guys, and she kind of is. Like, no one is living their better, best life than Lauren Sanchez.
Alive in her face.
But that's why I wanted more. Like, I felt like I spent the whole weekend like scouring the internet for photos, and it was the same like 5 photos of the Kardashians on a boat, and like I wanted more foam, I wanted more tequila. Like, if anyone was going to do it big, it was going to be Lauren and Jeff, and like we needed more like Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. Like I wanted more.
Maybe they're gonna give us a slow drip.
And just like prolong the news cycle.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wait, who asked the question about who you would want to sit with? Ashley, you said you'd want to sit with the family members and figure out.
Yeah, I want to sit with someone who's known Lauren through like her multiple chapters and her many evolutions. That would be more fun to me. Than
Actually, that's a very like
celebrity.
academic, like Ashley lens answer, by the way.
No, it's
I
my
want
like
to know the Lauren Sanchez
anthropological
history.
lens.
I want to sit next to her plastic surgeon. I want to know who does all the work. I want to know who's making the magic happen. That's who I want to sit next to. Who knows like all the secrets.
I want to know who Andy Jassy sat next to, who's now the CEO of Amazon.
Was he there?
Yeah, he was there. He was on the guest list.
Did you spot him in any photos? Like, could you spot Andy Jassy in a lineup? Because I absolutely could not. Okay.
I mean, I can because my CNBC days. So
Yes, that's true.
but very different environment from when he used to run AWS and then those conferences and then sitting at, I don't know, next to the Kardashians or Tom Brady. Maybe he sat next to Josh Kushner.
Wait, was Katy Perry there? Like like who gets the Lauren Jeff Bezos wedding post breakup?
Yeah, I feel like if you went to space with Lauren, you should get an invite to the wedding.
I didn't
That
see any
should have
photos
been
of
a
her.
package
Was she
deal.
there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Oh, that's a good point.
I think there were only 250 guests I read somewhere. Maybe that's wrong, but that's like actually a relatively small guest list given the sort of opulence and scale of the endeavor.
Okay, so I saw that the All In guys launched a tequila brand, and it's sold out within like days or minutes or whatever.
No, it's not sold out. You can go buy it now.
No, I definitely saw a tweet that said it was sold out. Maybe that was just like
Was that Jason?
creating a fake line or something.
Okay, I'm gonna go look right now.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's still online. I can buy it. It's
Yeah,
$1,200.
$1,200. Okay,
Is it
so
that good? Why is it so expensive?
well, what would the great chat beverage be? Because I feel like tequila is like played out now.
I'm a martini girl.
Spritz is very like border Gen Z millennial, so I like Spritz. I love a chilled red.
Love an espresso martini. I know we're past it, but that's also would be really fun. I just don't think that they do super well in a can. Ditto the spritzes. I've never had like a good spritz from a can, except for Gia, but that's not even alcoholic.
Well, it's NA, which would be very on trend.
I love NA. I barely drink, so I'm pretty done with that.
Same.
Oh, you really have gone LA, Mac.
I've always been like not a super heavy. Well, not always. I mean, I went to college, but like I like as an adult, I'm not really a huge drinker, just because I feel like shit afterwards, and I just don't like it.
I can't drink anymore either. It's definitely like an age and like ability to metabolize alcohol thing. I threw like a work dinner a couple of weeks ago, and literally no one drank the wine. Maybe like one person had one glass of wine, but the Gia was like destroyed. I should have bought more Gia. It's I get it though. I think especially I don't know if this applies to LA, but in New York there are like so many events. And if you're going to go to multiple events a week, you can't drink at every single one of them.
I also feel like that's kind of specific to VC too, because like you
Yeah.
have like it's your job to go be social, meet people, be out and about, like creating value. And so when you're like out there
Trash.
constantly, like always at these mixers, always at these dinners, always
I'm
like
everywhere.
But by the way, if you're in finance or if you're in journalism, and I've seen the lens of those, they like to drink. So I think it's not really just like, hey, because you have to network. I think it's a very VC.
Maybe it's just tech because we're all listening to like Huberman and he's like, don't drink, it's poisoning your body. So that could
You know what I want to rebrand? I want a rebrand of the Martinelli sparkling apple cider. Like that needs an adult rebrand.
Yes.
It was funny. I was talking about the all-in tequila on a group chat, not our group chat.
There are other group
and-
chats.
I know. Sorry, guys. This is an awkward way to tell you. And I was just like, who is the ICP for? Who would spend? Who like is so excited about all-in pod, but also will spend $1,200 on like tequila? Like, show me the center of that Venn diagram. And a friend very wisely said, like, the same people who spent like thousands of dollars for VIP passes to the All In Summit. So like, I actually like.
I thought you were gonna say the Fire Festival.
Maybe. But I do maybe, or maybe it's the same people who bought enough Trump coin that they got invited to that very sad looking luncheon. Like, but I do think there is a market out there.
Yeah, I think we take for granted like how like there are like these in-group and out-group dynamics, and then this, you know, Silicon Valley again. And I say this all the time. Is like VC used to be this cottage industry, and the second you like launch it into the main stage, which I think like happened when there was like The Social Network, or there was you know, the shows where they talked. Was it called Silicon Valley? Yes, but then there was like that reality show too. Like there's this audience of people who just get fascinated by this too, and so I think that audience is always going to be much larger than the people who are in it.
Should we talk about as a follow-up to our last episode? I feel like we were actually quite prescient with that topic around acqui-hires, because just in the past week, it's been a feeding frenzy for our good friend Mark Zuckerberg.
Never bet against Zuck.
He just wanted to steal the headlines for himself. He couldn't have the weekend be about Jeff's wedding, so he had to make his own splash. Like, it's Mark Zuckerberg wedding crashers.
I loved that theory, Angela. Yeah, I thought it was super wild how they were publishing the roster. Let's just keep the sports analogy, and like, you know, the full name, first and last name, and then where they worked, and it's like, yes, I'm sure you do the calculus of like when you're accepting a very large offer of how your life's going to change, but I don't know how many of them predicted that they would become like main characters and that, you know, get put on blast that way. Like I don't know, that felt kind of scary. But
I don't know. I kind of loved it.
I enjoyed it, but I was also just like, yikes.
No. I meant from the like. Again, I'm not obviously sitting in their shoes, and I'm not getting paid $10 million or this massive package, but I kind of do like the fact that they're getting treated like these stars. And I think, Helen, you shared that tweet that was it. Cristiano Ronaldo got paid $80 million, and then this Asian guy got paid $100 million, and like, well, I don't know, nerdy is back, and it's kind of cool. I like it. I don't actually know what the I haven't read into the like real compensation. I assume they're not getting like a chunk of cash for a signing bonus. I assume it's like amortized over like 4 years or something.
I'm sure it's like taking equity into account and like total comp.
Exactly.
Sure.
So
I also think I love the theory, Angela, that Zuck was trying to crash Bezos's wedding, but also it seemed strategic because OpenAI is closed this week.
Does anyone know why? Was it just like this is our summer off? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's just
okay.
like, you know, it's always hard to take vacation. And so I think some companies actually like force people to take a break because it's easier to not be on email and on Slack and everything like when other people
I mean,
aren't.
just from a productivity standpoint, it is actually much better for the company if everyone is off, you know, at the same time. So that makes sense. But it was so weird. Like, I feel like we shouldn't know all these details. It feels... or maybe that's just like my internal comms alarm just going off.
Totally. Yeah, I guess if you were, I don't even want to think about what devious,
like you're a hacker.
Things
yes,
you could
exactly.
plan.
People are just in the arena doing things.
I'm sure if you're a hacker and listening to this episode, like don't get any ideas. But yeah, like there have been all these like frantic internal comms that are now leaking from OpenAI leadership, and they've said they're going to revisit their comp, and there was some dramatic language around like, you know, Meta offers feels like someone has broken into our home. So anyways, it's really and truly on, and kind of a rivalry for the ages. So from an entertainment standpoint, because as we've said before, all news is now entertainment. It went from political news to tech news. Like I feel like Zuck is keeping us very sated.
By the way, just to be clear, the like Meta hires was leaked from within, from probably right at the top, because it really worked. Everyone's talking about it, and everyone's going back to like where they recruited from, and
all of these superstar engineers get brand endorsement deals. You know, everyone needs their own shoes. They need their own enterprise SaaS. Like, this is the perfect group to go do that.
No, Angela, I have a joke that like there needs to be a CAA for tech workers now, for star tech workers. And I had thought about it in a more limited way across like, okay, if you're like a star like, you know, operator, like what board should you be on, what like deal flow should you have access to, but
That's
I think
so
we
great.
need to think.
So you clear your package is probably like you get like equity, right? And then you get like AWS credits and compute.
Yeah. I want Polymarket for actual individual employees. That would be hilarious.
Oh, like around the performance review cycle.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, like if we're doing like $100 million acquisitions of individual humans.
You can create those markets, those prediction markets right now if you really wanted to.
That's crazy though. That's insane.
I was also seeing that Mira Maruti's company, there was I think it was a Business Insider article that broke down the like base comp. And she's actually paying more than Anthropic and OpenAI, according to this article. I think the base comp was like $400,000 in salary for Thinking Machine Labs, Mira Maruti's company. And then like, I forget if like Anthropic was like 300K and OpenAI was like 250 or something like that. So again, like it's race for talent. I actually have a really funny anecdote. I was at the Humans in the Loop conference last week, and a lot of VCs were sponsoring it, including True, from obviously Helen. And I was having lunch with a friend of mine who's a VC, and in that same day, he said 2 of his portfolio companies just got approached for an acquisition, and it was going to be an acqui-hire. Like the like speed and velocity of these like companies that are getting acquired early on so that they can like snatch up talent is just crazy. And I think the momentum is just going to like continue to grow.
Well, when you think about it, paying like $100 million for an individual makes paying like $20 million for a pre-seed company feel like a great deal if you're getting talent with that. So
is that Costco? Is that buying in bulk?
Yeah, exactly.
AI.
That can be.
That's great. That's great.
That's so good.
So these are like bodega buys, right? You just go and you pick up one, right? But then, like, so that would be an acqui-hire.
$100 million your bodega buy? That's my Erewhon strawberry. But like we may be living
like,
different
there are
lives.
parts of the West Village where yes, it feels that way. And then okay, so Costco would be like like a true acquisition where the whole team is joining.
But like 5 people, you know, not a mega thing.
Like a pallet of engineers that you put onto your cart.
Like an egg carton of engineers in Angela's parlance.
Is there ever going to be a time in Silicon Valley where like somebody doesn't have a dream of an egg carton and Angela's dozen of
the association
of engineers
forever? Okay, so summer's here. Should founders raise in the summer? Should job seekers pause their search in the summer? I feel like we've gotten this question a couple times, so I thought we'd just do like a summer episode. You know, apropos of nothing, we are in. I think 3 of us are in San Francisco, and it's like an extremely foggy day, but. That's San Francisco summer for you. So I don't know. Do you guys feel like a summer slowdown in your jobs, like at your companies or from an investing standpoint?
I just saw on my LinkedIn wall one of the founders of a company I invested in. He was on vacation, like on the beach, and then his app got hacked by some crypto scammers. So he posted himself on his like vacation bed, saying, "Oh, I guess like vacation's over," and grinding away. And I don't know. I think it's all this like illusion of like everyone's just doing shit, and so they have to like part of the like growth and like marketing strategy is about like posting how hard you're working. And again, that doesn't. I'm not saying that that's different from like how it used to be, but definitely the illusion of it has increased. So I don't know if that's how you guys are all seeing it as well, but. I don't think a summer slowdown is happening anytime soon this summer.
My theory is that COVID like killed the true like venture startup summer slowdown. And when I say startup summer slowdown, I don't think startups ever really get to slow down, but at least it wasn't a good time to fundraise because all the VCs were in Italy. And the VCs may still be in Italy, but like during COVID, we all learned like, oh, we can do Zooms anytime. And this went from a transaction that used to always be like very in person and relationship driven to something that, I mean, in like the summer of 2020, I feel like rounds were coming together in 2 days on Zoom. And fortunately, we're like not quite in that era now, but the illusion that like people might not be able to take meetings because they're on vacation has been permanently shattered. I'm sure it's a little bit different if you're like at a GP at a bigger platform and there's a whole team of people to fill in for you. At least in all the emerging manager groups I'm in, and Helen, I'm curious, same for you. Like, I feel like there's no real vacation. There's just working remotely from different places. So
that's really interesting you say that COVID started this, because that's like, so in the Bay Area, I mean, I joke that in San Francisco, like, we have the same weather all year round. So like, you never go through that like ritual of like swapping out your summer wardrobe for your winter wardrobe and all those things. So, and then a lot of us like put our kids in like year round school. So there's also like no markers of passing time. And then now if there's no, summer slowdown, it's a very interesting life you lead here. You're just grinding 24/7. Why wouldn't you want to move here?
I'll say that, like, in startup world, I don't know. We're filming this on July 1st, so, first day of Q3. Like, there's no...
So aggressive. What percentage are you to goal?
Yeah, on day one.
There have been 9 hours and 35 minutes into Q3, excuse me.
Okay, I was going to go with 35 minutes into Q3, but, to each their own. Yeah, no, I'd be pleased. When's the last time I started my day at 9 a.m.? But, like, it's funny because, like, I'm so not a fan of all of the grind set hustle porn at all. So, like, I hate feeding into the narrative, but it's so true. Like, I was texting you guys last night. I was, like, working until 1 a.m. Like, it's not chill in the summer. And especially for us too, because like in manufacturing, the real slowdown starts to happen around Q4. So it's busy as ever, but also I just don't think that I've ever been in a startup where there's like a summer slowdown. Summer slowdowns happen when you're a bigger like growth stage or enterprise org.
That's such a good point. Like, different sectors have different seasonality. Like, when I went to Glossier, I was like, oh my gosh, like, such a huge chunk of our business happens between Black Friday or like the pre-Black Friday sales through holiday. And then like there's actually this huge ramp up period to get ready for that. But that has implications on what the engineering team can do because there's a code freeze ahead, so you can make sure you're ready to go. And so like late summer was actually like quite busy at Glossier because everything was like all hands on deck. And then if you're doing enterprise sales, it's like every quarter at the very end has its own mini sprint. But then for a lot of, it's like Q4 for a lot of traditional enterprise sales businesses. But Mac, it sounds like manufacturing is on a different clock. And then I also think just like both in a specific way, but a generalized way as well. Like AI has just sped everything up, and I feel like no one feels they can take a break right now, whether you're building or trying to invest in the next company. Like, I mean, it is funny that OpenAI is closed this week, but it just feels like the pace of innovation and shipping and change is so fast. And so if you are in this world and you are in tech, it just feels like a sprint. And so we'll see if it changes now that we're officially in July, but
the like speed at which these deals are getting done, and these are like not small deals. These are like $50 million, $100 million or deals are being done in like days. It's absolutely crazy. So if you miss one email because you're on a like yacht somewhere, the next day comes and then the round is all filled out.
And I think it's happening at like the pre-seed too, because there's almost at the earliest stages, you need to catch things before they take off. And it's very have and have nots, right? For most founders, it's still quite a grind to get an early stage round done. But if you have been like anointed and have like the right narrative and the right pedigree and the right category, I think a lot of early stage VCs are trying to jump on things really quickly because they know that if this is one of these companies that gets to like 10 million ARR really fast, you're completely priced out. And so weirdly, there's like an unusual amount of FOMO at the early stages too, to preempt some of these companies. So
actually, don't you know that 100 million is the new 10 million ARR?
I'm all for 100 million ARR once I've already invested, but if you're at 100 million ARR, don't even slide in my DMs. That's just rude at this point. So yeah, I'm trying to get there before 1 million.
I think one of the topics that we've talked about internally a few times, and I get a lot of questions on, is around like fundraising during the summer. And, to your point, Ashley, about just like getting to know all the founders and like the deals getting done quickly. We did our fundraise start of summer last year. And, a lot of the questions we get around is like, oh, should we raise in the summer? And bottom line really is, I think, how do you actually strategize before, like majority of the work is done before you actually start fundraising. So a lot of the founders are getting to know the investors, telling the story, kind of filling them in. And then once you decide to raise, it's not like a full surprise. People have already started to do diligence on the company. So things are getting done. One anecdote I always find hilarious for a company like ours, where it was a European-based company and a San Francisco-based company, is that European VCs actually do take off in August, which is so bizarre to me. And to a point where I remember we were emailing someone about a safe round, and they sent a calendar invite for September, and we obviously didn't take the money from them, but the idea that they, it's just it's a very standard thing across Europe. But again, things are getting done. I think the funny thing always is I get a question around should you avoid raising during Burning Man, because so many VCs go to Burning Man and there's no Wi-Fi on the playa. So I don't know, that maybe that's the 1 week you avoid, but
does that change with Starlink? Is that the final frontier?
That's true. That's
funny.
Imagine someone doing a diligence on the playa on their bike.
No, can you imagine being on a call with a VC, having it be your first introduction to them, and they're just half naked, covered in dust, and messaging you
on a lot of drugs?
I mean, hopefully they wouldn't be doing it on a lot of drugs, but who knows? I just think that'd be really wild. You're oh, okay, I'm going to go talk to 50 of you and get rejected by half of them. This is fun and enjoyable for me. I
think it depends. If you're Web3, maybe it's great.
Well, do we think it's different for job seekers or people who are hiring? Is there, a slowdown at maybe not, later stage startups, right? The ones that operate kind of more.
I was talking to a bigger startup recently, and we were just talking about the job market, and they were saying capital is not an issue for us. It's really the resource is the bottleneck, and so people across the board I think are hiring really aggressively right now.
When you say resources, the bottleneck, you mean talent?
Yeah.
Talent, yeah. And I don't mean just AI researcher talent. I mean operational talent, BD, partnership, sales. They're all hiring pretty aggressively, I think.
But I also think those are incredibly competitive jobs. And not to totally sidebar, but I've also been hearing from people who are in on talent teams how impossible it is to sort through applications because everyone's using AI to perfectly tailor their resumes and cover letters to the JD and to the company. And so there's so much resume slop. It's really hard to sort through and find the right people. And so ironically, now more than ever, that warm intro might be the key to getting through. And that's always been true, but I think it's really hard to sift because people are just able to apply at a volume, but with a level of precision that they never have been before. And it's just noise that's canceling itself out.
That's so interesting. So one of the thesis for my fund is that I feel the equivalent of AI slop. There are so many sort of fundraising factories out there, right? You go through an accelerator and they teach you how to create the perfect pitch deck. And now everything's on Zoom. So it's you go through a meeting and it's the most perfect pitch deck you've ever seen. You ask good questions and then you get perfect answers. And then you're just okay, I have no more or less conviction than I did, before this meeting. And so I had to completely change the way that I invest. And, a lot of that is yes, through network referrals and sort of sticking to that, but it's also spending a significant amount of time with somebody, many, many, many weeks. And so I'm curious if maybe that changes in the hiring process as well, right? Especially top of funnel, how would recruiters sort of figure that part out?
I mean, to your point about the deck too, I feel every product video all look the same and they're all perfectly manicured and you can't tell how much of it is, just vibes and how much of it is real product implementation.
Well, I think a real advantage or differentiator is if you're not very online. I know that sounds silly, but for SaaS,
did you say advantage or
an advantage? Yes.
Oh, an advantage.
I'm working with a founder right now who's AI, dev tools, and he's just not online.
I disagree with you on that one.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
I feel like
yes, you're missing the news, you're missing the zeitgeist, but if you're building in a category that you feel like is, underserved and it's unique, like sometimes not being bombarded with like this is what everyone else is doing kind of gives you that free space to like, I don't know, problem
You mean
solve.
from an attention and focus perspective, but what about a distribution perspective or like a
Yes.
perspective?
But I think like I'm kind of I invest pre that, right? Like it's much more in this sort of like, do I have this interesting way to solve this problem? Yeah.
I'm going to be late to ask this question, but what is slop?
Wow, Sally.
That's a great question. I think it's just AI generated content, right? It came with Gen
Yeah.
AI.
Oh, is that
and
what it
like
is? Oh.
you sort of prompt
Sally,
something.
just go on LinkedIn and scroll.
No. I've seen the word plenty of times. I just never dared to ask what it was.
Actually, I should have captured what like yesterday. I think when I opened Twitter, there was a video, and it was like, a very AI generated politician or celebrity, and they were like eating burgers or something, and it was just sort of gross, and obviously. So to me, like slop is that, where it's just like it's gross.
I got the
like,
definition here.
Okay.
AI slop is a term of low quality media, including writing and images, made using generative AI technology characterized by an inherent lack of effort, logic, or purpose.
I think it's just like AI has so lowered the barriers to creation, and so like there's just like so much volume and so little taste. So I think this is actually why taste has become like the new thing, right?
Well, my
like,
hot
taste
take on
is
this with like long form was that I feel like the SEO era of like companies like NerdWallet and all these like HubSpot started this, where you're just basically creating these factories of content so that you can like increase your ranking marginally.
Yeah.
And like that was the start of slop, and AI wasn't even involved there. So to me, this is like just taking it to another level, and hopefully meaning like we hit like the maximum so we can like swing back the other way, and I think that's where we are.
And now let's head to our Q&A.
Away from
Okay,
AI
wait, no,
slop.
sorry. One more thing on this fucking AI slop. It is so just like detrimental to the general doom scrolling experience. I think it might finally be the thing that cures me of it. The other thing that I can't deal with is like what I am now immediately in this moment deciding to term IRL AI slop, which is when like you're in a conversation and somebody cannot stop saying, well, I actually am going to go ask ChatGPT, or like I asked ChatGPT, or like I don't even care if it's ChatGPT. They're like their new best friend is Claude, and you're like, I don't know, like leave the house ever. I don't touch grass. It's weird. It's weird to like be in the middle of a conversation and someone like starts pulling out like, anyway, I can't.
I like it. Conversational slop.
Conversational slop. It's so boring. Ugh. Anyway, now let's head to our Q&A. I want to change jobs, but my current job is super intense and I have no time. How do I prioritize my search? Ugh, that sucks. I hate that. Hate that for whoever this is. So this has 1,000% been me before. I totally get it. The struggle is so fucking real. Like those types of jobs when you're working like late nights and through weekends. I think something that you're going to have to, like, it sort of depends on your job. It might end up being one of those things where you kind of just have to like leave to be able to leave. But if you can, if it's the type of environment where you can get away with it, learn to embrace sucking at things, or learn to embrace delivering below your standards, because like what you want is going to be ultimately different than what the company wants. And at some point, like if look out for you before you look out for the company. And so if it means that like some things, like obviously take care of the main things, don't like leave people in the lurch. But if right now, if you're really truly working constantly, you're probably over delivering, or like completely unfairly staffed. So go back to working what a normal person like can and should be working, and spend the rest of your time, whether that's like the weekends or like afternoons, doing the like networking and job hunting that you would otherwise be doing, which is a really shitty feeling. It really sucks to do less than what you know you can, but it's probably what that's certainly what I would do.
I think it's good advice. The other thing I would say is like gauge whether you're even in like a mental state to be able to make a decision about your next job when you're in a really, really intense job. And especially if there's any kind of like toxic element to that. I think there's always the concern about making like a push decision versus a pull decision. Like you're so incentivized to leave that kind of anything that's not that job can look better, versus like really being able to have like the space and the headspace to think about like what would be best for you. And obviously this is an incredibly privileged position to be in. But if you can take a break, if you work in tech, like the concept of sabbatical is totally destigmatized. And again, that's like a huge luxury to be able to do that. But I really do worry sometimes when I've had friends who are in really, really intense jobs and I feel like they can't even like zoom out enough to figure out what they want to do, other than that they just don't want to be at the thing they're at anymore. And I think that's a really challenging, one of my like fantasies for my like third act is like a startup detox program where you like go through and you process everything you just went through and figure out what you want to take from it. And I think it's like very, very hard to do that when you're in that moment.
I totally agree. I think especially what you said about like make sure that you're running towards something and not away from something, and sometimes you do need the space to do that. But I'll take the counter, because I do feel like in like when you get to the comp negotiation, you do have a lot more leverage when you are, currently at a job. And so then I might go back to what Max said, which is just like, can you lower your standards for yourself at your current job while you're looking? And I know that sucks.
Give yourself a summer slowdown.
There you go.
Be the summer slowdown you wish to see in the world.
That's a great place to end. All right, see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Great Chat. Have questions for us? Make sure to submit them at anothergreatchat.com. See you next week. Thank you.